Welcome to Ask a Member, a program of the Adrian Area Chamber of Commerce. This is Hughes, president of the Adrian Area Chamber, and it's my pleasure today to welcome Chris Gorski from Washovia Services right here in Adrian. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. So tell us what you do at Washovia.
Washovia Services is a company that offers fire and water restoration to Lenawee County for mostly insurance restoration, but any kind of fire, flood, or smoke damage that we can help people out with.
Okay. So I would imagine you got a lot of business this winter.
It was a very busy winter, yes.
And I know still working on some of those projects, but a lot of buildings were seriously damaged here
yeah, we had a lot of frozen pipes this winter, and that led to a lot of damage. Both residential property and commercial property had a lot of damage.
Okay. So tell us about the different entities within Washovia. I know you have the housing, and I know Randy goes, when Katrina and that came, he went south, and then you've got the work that you do right here in the community.
Yep, right here in the community we have Washovia Services as a company that does fire and water restoration. We physically get involved in repairing the homes, drying out the basements, putting houses back together after fires or floods, and the contracting part of that. Okay. And then a separate company is Washovia Temporary Housing, and that's the company that has the mobile home units that are fully furnished for people who've had a house fire or displaced from their house for an extended period of time. And we do that for all of Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana.
Wow. How many homes do you have available?
I believe there's about 40 units right now.
Wow. Are they all housed? I know I see some of them out on Treat. Is that where most of them are housed? Or?
That's where our office is, and the units come back to us between each set, and we go through and clean them, do whatever maintenance and repairs needs to be done. And then they're fully furnished, right down to the beds being made. The cabinets have pots and pans and silverware right in it for the family. The only thing they need to move in is their own clothes and their own food. Everything else is there for them. Because most times when people have had a fire, they don't have anything left.
Gone.
That's
yeah.
right.
Well, that's a real service then.
Yeah, it works out to be a real benefit for them.
Okay. One thing I didn't know, and you mentioned it a minute ago, Chris, is that you're also, Washovia also does the contracting.
Yes, we do.
My son is a client of yours this year. We were just talking about that, but that Washovia also serves as the general contractor for putting those properties back together.
Yes, we do. There are times where we just do the dryouts or just help get the smoke clean, but there's a lot of times where we actually are the general contractors that help put the house back together as well. Okay.
So do you have your own crew, or do you subcontract?
We do have our own crew that handles most things, and then we have our own subcontractors for the skilled trades, the plumbers, electricians, and that sort of thing that we help bring in.
Okay. And what's your role at Washovia?
My role at Washovia is I'm the estimator. I do all of the estimates and the negotiations back and forth with the insurance companies, and then I also help with the project management on all of the emergency losses and help get the smaller rebuilds going.
So does some of that negotiation with the insurance companies get a little tricky sometimes?
Occasionally it can, yes. Most of the insurance companies have streamlined it with a program called Xactimate that we do most of our estimates on, but there are still some tricky ones to try and reach an agreement with.
Okay. So how long does it take you normally, say a house has gotten flooded, how long does it take you to go in and get things dried out to the point where people can move back in?
If it's just simply drying a structure, we typically have a structure dry within 3 days from when it flooded. But if it's a full-length repair, it really varies depending on the case and how cooperative the insurance company and the homeowner is. Sometimes a complete house fire or a major flood where the whole house is affected can take up to a year to repair. But most cases, people, the majority of the work we do is the dryouts, which people are usually able to move back in within about 3 days.
You say it can take up to a year. You look at Hurricane Sandy and Katrina and that, and there are still people who aren't back in their homes yet.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't realize how long it takes.
And there are times where it just doesn't make financial sense for the house to be saved. Sometimes, they total it out just like they do with a car sometimes, and it's better to walk away from it. So.
Never thought of that. Do your employees, do they go to some of these areas where there are disasters?
Currently, we don't do any of the contracting work or the dry out work outside of Lenawee County, except the outlying areas. But we don't travel and follow the catastrophes anymore.
Okay.
In the temporary housing, we do just the tri-state area now.
Okay. So you actually, if somebody in Ohio needs a house, you actually hook it up and...
Yep, we take
And
it
take
from
it
our
down there.
warehouse here in Adrian, and we haul it down to their property and set it up on their property for them to live in while their house is being rebuilt. And it really helps the speed of their rebuild go faster because they're there every day. They can see the progress, and they're there if the contractor has questions. It's the same bus route for the kids at school.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
your mail is the same place, and especially the rural areas where there's a lot of farmers who can't be away from their livestock
Yeah.
for that long. It's a real a blessing and a real service for them to be able to have that there on their property to
Yeah.
use.
Mentally and emotionally, I would imagine that's a big help.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Now, does insurance cover that for them?
They do. It comes out of a portion of your insurance policy called additional living expense, which is separate from your dwelling coverage.
Okay. Okay. So those are great services. You have a storage business too?
Yep. Behind our office, we also have several storage units back there
Okay.
that we rent out.
Now, are those just for people who have had, issues that in their homes that you need that space to get the work done?
We do occupy
Or?
some of it ourselves for when we have packouts of contents and things from homes, but the majority of it is just rented to the general public.
Okay. What would you, I don't know, what piece of advice would you give people? If they have a catastrophe, if they have water damage, if they have fire damage, what do they need to pay attention to?
The biggest advice I can give is don't be afraid to call somebody and say, is this something I can help with, or do I really need to get somebody else involved? The faster you act after you have a loss, the more you can minimize the damage. The longer that water sits in a structure and the longer the walls are wet, the more damage that's going to cause and the more extensive the repairs are going to be. So the quicker you can respond and get somebody out there, everybody thinks, oh, I can just handle this myself with a shop vac. Well, by the time you find out you're in over your head, it's after
too
hours
late.
or a weekend.
Yeah.
And so, the quicker you can respond is really the key to minimizing your damage.
Okay, and it's more expensive
Right, it is.
if you wait, or you wait for the weekend, or
Right, and the longer it's wet, the longer it takes to dry.
how much can be salvaged from a home that's been underwater?
The water surprisingly does more damage than soot when you have a fire. The soot can be cleaned off fairly easily. The water often causes more permanent damage to contents and things, but it's really on a case-by-case basis of what could be saved or what can't.
What's an example of one of the worst individual disasters that you've seen with property?
One of the most recent ones was about 2 years ago when Blissfield, the park there, was completely flooded, that they had to shut down the bridge. We actually had a basement in a house right next to the river where the water was even with the top of the basement steps.
Oh, wow.
And so you can imagine what that's like to come home to, and your furnace and water
Everything.
heater and washer and dryers downstairs, and everything you have in your basement's completely submerged. And
Wow. Did the water just drain out naturally, or did you?
we helped to pump it out to get it out more rapidly than what could naturally happen.
Wow. There wasn't anything salvageable there, probably, was
Not
there?
very much content-wise.
Wow. That's tough.
It was coming in as fast as we could pump it out.
Okay. So, Chris, tell us where Washovia is located, how to get a hold of you.
Sure. We're located at 2981 Treat Highway. That's right near Lenawee Transmission, or across the street from the Family Kitchen restaurant there.
Okay.
And our phone number is 263-3447. We do have a 24-hour live person that answers our phone, so you won't get a recording or a voicemail. You'll actually get someone to talk to that can put you in touch with us anytime when you happen to have a disaster.
That's good to know.
We're there from 8 to 4:30 in the office, Monday through Friday, but we're available 24/7 when people do have a need.
Okay. Do you have a website?
We do have a website. It's washoviaservices.com.
Okay. Very good.
And mytemphousing.com is the website for the temporary housing division.
Okay, mytemphousing.com. That's great. I hope no one watching ever has to call you, but I hope they do if they need your services.
It's a good part of emergency planning to know who to
To know
call
who to
in
call.
the event when you do, but we certainly wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Right, okay. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Take care.